so. When you're dealing with percents, there are several things to keep in mind. You have to keep in mind what your kind of base amount is. Okay? That's something we should always be asking ourselves. So, if I tell you, I got a 2% raise, and Ron got a 3% raise, who got the bigger raise? I got a 2% raise, Ron got a 3% raise. Whose raise was bigger? Really?
Assuming we both have the same base.
Aha! 2% of what versus 3% of what? Okay, if I make $50,000, then I get a 3% raise. Let's say my yearly salary is $50,000, and I get a 3% raise. That's what, $1,500? $1,500 raise for me, right? Because if I made $100,000, which I don't, if I made $100,000, a 3% raise would be $3,000. So if I make $50,000, which is half of 100, my 3% raise would be half of $3,000. So I make $50,000. Oh, what the heck did I say? I said I got a 2% raise. Damn it. Okay, well, my 2% raise would be $1,000. Okay, so I make $50,000. My 2% raise is $1,000. Now Ron got a 3% raise. Unfortunately, Ron only makes $10,000 a year. 3% of 10,000 is 300. So my 2% raise was equivalent to $1,000 because it's 2% of my $50,000 base salary. Ron's 3% raise amounts to $300 because it's 3% of his $10,000 base salary. What is the whole? That's what we always need to ask ourselves when we deal with percents. 3% of what? Okay, that matters. A percent by itself tells you absolutely nothing. Okay. Another key idea will be changing between ratios, fractions, and percents. Okay, notice these are all ways to express parts of a whole thing. And of course, word problems with percents. Okay, so let's do a little example problem right here. Jill saves $600. And Sam saves $728. Express Sam's savings as a percent percentage of Jill's. So I'm going to do some bar diagrams here. That bar represents Jill's savings. This bar represents Sam's savings. I'm going to do a little percentage bar up here. Okay, this line represents my percentage bar. Now I know how long this bar is. How long is this bar?
600.
Right, $600. That bar represents $600. And we know this. What does this bar represent? 700. 20. Okay, 720. Now, they tell us as a percentage of this. So that is our that's our base unit. The base unit is Jill's salary. So there's my 100% right there. Okay, so if we're talking about as a percentage of Jill's salary, since Sam has more, she's going to have more than 100%. Okay? When you have more than 100%, that represents you have everything they have plus you have extra. Okay? So that's what we're going to be doing here. So the question we're trying to find is, what's that? There's our question mark. Okay, so let's do some thinking here. $600, that corresponds to 100%. Okay, now this extra in terms of dollars, that's $120 extra. Okay, now there are some percents that are very easy to find. When I'm talking about this $600. Very easy to find 50% of something. How do you find 50% of something? Right, cut it in half. 50% means half. Okay, remember we're talking about changing between fractions, percents, and ratios. 50% of something, that's half of something. Very easy to take half of something. $300. Okay, now I don't think that'll really help me here, because there's no easy relationship between 300 and 120. It's not like I could cut it in half and then cut it in half again. Now I got 150. I'm closer, but I'm still not there. Okay? So give me another percent that's really easy to find. Okay, 25%. You cut it in half twice. Give me another percent that's really easy to find. Okay, 10%. Okay, 50%, very easy to find. 25%, very easy to find. 10%, very easy to find. How do you find 10%? Divide by 10. Okay, 10% is 1/10. Very easy to divide by 10 because we have a base 10 place value system. So, $60 would correspond to what percent? Right, that's 10% of Jill's salary. Okay, now how can I use this to get what I need over here? Does she have 10% more? How much more in terms of a percent? In terms of dollars, she has $120 more. How can we use this to give us something that corresponds to 120? That's 20%. Okay? So, Sam has all that Jill has, plus an additional 20%. So what is Sam's savings as a percentage of Jill's savings. Right, Sam has 120% of Jill's savings. So keep that in mind, that there are some percentages that are very easy to find. What were they again?
50, 25,
Okay, 50% very easy. How do you do that? Take whatever you got, cut it in half. 25%, also very easy to find. Cut it in half and cut it in half again. 10%, really easy. Okay, what was it? What was it again? Divide by 10. Whatever quantity you have, divide that quantity by 10, that's 10%. Okay? And since we have a base 10 place value system, division by 10 is easy. So since it's easy to find 10%, it's easy to find 20%. How did we do it? What were the steps? To find 10%, I divide by 10. How do I define 20%? Right, take your 10% and double it. Okay? Here's a quick little thing. Let's say you go out to eat. The bill ends up being $37. You want to leave a 20% tip. Use what we just talked about. What's your tip? So the $37 corresponds to 100%. What's 10% of this? $3.70. I'm sure you remember that trick from grade school. Dividing by 10 is equivalent to moving the decimal point that way. Multiplying by 10 is equivalent to moving the decimal point one spot to the right. You're dividing, you move one spot to the left. So then how do we get the amount corresponding to 20%? Take this 370, double it. Okay? You double the 3, you got $6. 70 cents, double that. What do you get? 140, and then you got to add that to the 6. So $7.40. Okay, so computing a 20% tip, very easy. You can do it mentally. Take 10% of your bill and then double that. If you only want to give 10%, then it's even easier. Okay, but then you're a cheapskate. Right? So take 10% and double it. Of course, you always have to keep in mind what your base amount is when you're doing this. Okay. Let's do some problems out of one of the primary math books. Nope. Okay, 6A, practice 4C. If I was smart, I would have written down the page in my notes. Yeah, looks like, thank you. So 53 is practice 4A, 57. Okay, practice 4C is on page 60. All right. So if you've got the purple book, we're on page 60. If not, I'll write some things down here. Okay, here's a nice one. So if you've got the book, I'm working on problem number 5 here. Whole bunch of percentage problems. So this is primary math 6A, page 60. We're looking at number 5. price of a TV was reduced from $200 to $150. By what percentage was the price reduced? Okay, so I'm going to have my line up here. That line's going to be my percentage line. I'm going to use that to keep track of where the 100% mark is. Remember, we got to keep track of what our base amount is. So the original price of the TV set, that represents this bar. So the length of that bar is 200. That's the original price. And then we have the price on sale. Something like that. $150. Okay, now do I put my, so I'm going to put a mark there, and I'm going to put a mark there, okay, corresponding to the end of this bar and the end of this bar. Now, which bar represents my 100%? This one over here on the right. This is my 100%. Okay? Now, the question we're trying to answer is, where is this? Okay? Now, I know in terms of dollars what the difference is. The difference is $50. So $200 corresponds to 100%. And basically I'm looking at this. $50 corresponds to what? Okay, 25%. And you look at the relationship between this and this. How do I get from 200 to 50? And you can see it right away. I hope you divide by 4. Now, when you're trying to do this, when you're trying to go from one amount to another, multiply and divide. Don't be thinking about adding. That won't help you with percents. Okay, you got to be thinking about multiplying and dividing when you're doing these kind of problems. So $200 corresponds to 100%, that means $50 corresponds to 25%. Okay, so, let me see, I'm going to write down something wrong. Don't write that down. Okay, I guess, yeah, we've got that. This is right, never mind. The reduction is 25%. I thought they were asking this, but they weren't. Okay, so the sale price, the reduction is 25%. It's a 25% reduction. That means the sale price is 75% of the original price. Okay, so what's the relationship between this and this? Right, so if it's a reduction of 25%, that means what you have left is 75% of the original price. Okay, let's go and look at this one. I want you to do these two in your seats. Number 6. So I got my percent line, I got my bars here. Which of these is the 100% mark? Left or right? Left is the 100% mark. Okay, so we're basing the next years as a percentage of the previous years. So this is our starting amount, that's our base amount, 100%. So let's do our little chart here. 80 club members corresponds to 100%. Now, I want to know what 16 members corresponds to. Okay, 16 is not the percentage. That's the number of members. Okay, I'm going to leave a little blank space there. So 16 corresponds to what percent? That's what I want to answer. Okay, now I left a blank there, and maybe you could do it in one step, but it might be easier to do it in 2 steps. So what steps did you do?
10%.
Okay, do 10%, because that's an easy one to do. So that means 8 members correspond to 10%. So we're doing a division by 10 there. And now how do we get from here to here? Right, double that, okay, times 2. So that means we would double this. Okay, whatever you do on this side, you do that exact same operation over here. Now remember, when you're going from one row to the next in these percentage problems, multiplying and dividing only. If you start adding, that's not going to help you. Okay? Percents work nicely with respect to multiplication and addition, or multiplication and division. No addition. Okay, so what would our sentence be for this?
20% increase.
Right, there was a 20% increase in membership. Okay, once again, very similar problem. I've got my bars representing the total cost of meat. Which one is my 100%? Is it over here? No, it's over here. The original price is the 100%. We increased it to $15. So we want to know what was the percentage increase from this point. Okay, now we know the dollar amount was 5. Nope, not right. The dollar amount was 3. Okay, so I know that 12 corresponds to 100%. And I want to say 3 corresponds to what? 25%. Now how do we get that? How do we know we should put a 25 here? Okay, right, so to get from here to here, you're dividing by 4. So over here, you should also divide by 4. And remember, finding 25% of something, we talked about that at the beginning. You want to find 50%, you cut it in half. You cut your starting amount in half. You want to find 25%, you cut it in half twice, which means you're finding what